Okay, Spartans. Today we're here with Nathan Temeyer. And Nathan has worked with me both in the gym when I had the gym downtown and has now been in the Spartan Lifestyle program for probably almost 18 months, right? A year and a half almost. So want to talk to him a little bit about his experience and how it may relate to some of you guys. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Nathan.
Yeah, so as Nick said, been doing the program for about a year and a half now with my wife, Nicole. Yeah, and we've just really loved it in terms of like personality, background, that kind of stuff. So I work on, analytical stuff, whether it's finances or data or, yeah, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not necessarily active in my day-to-day life. And so being in this program has really helped me to kind of balance out the computer work that I'm always doing.
Yeah.
So.
Working hard. He's a hard worker. He's actually got very interesting work history. He's working remotely in Des Moines, Iowa for a company in Myanmar. So that's pretty interesting, pretty cool. So tell us a little bit about your experience working with me in the gym and then going into Spartan Lifestyle and how that's kind of been different and what you've benefited from that.
Yeah, definitely. So when I first met Nick would have been 2013, and that was my first experience ever, I think, with any sort of coaching involving weightlifting since maybe like seventh grade, I think was the last time I had that. So it'd been a while. I did a little bit of lifting and stuff my senior year of college, the year before that, but I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of went around the different machines around the gym, and then I had a roommate that started to get me into barbell stuff, but we had no clue. We were just doing it. And so working with Nick that first time was the first time I really realized that there's actually a lot of technique that goes into it and how much it really matters and makes an impact, not just for doing heavier lifts, but also for being safe and the mobility aspects of it. Specifically, I never really thought about how mobility impacts like front rack position, and it was noticeably different having Nick's coaching for that. So yeah, that was kind of my first gateway into it, and I just really loved that process from then on. Yeah, and I've been doing it pretty much consistently ever since. And then this lifestyle program that we started a year and a half ago was the first time doing it with a coach remotely. And so for a while, didn't have a barbell at home, didn't do all that stuff, just did dumbbell stuff. And then we've been doing barbell related things for the last, I don't know, 8 to 9 months. And so that's been good as well. So.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about how that's been doing workouts before when you guys just had dumbbells, but a little bit more on how is it to work with a coach remotely when you're doing something that is technically complex as Olympic weightlifting?
Yeah, so I think there's definitely some challenges, right? Where when I'm doing a lift, I don't necessarily have that initial feedback or in real-time feedback that an in-person coach would have. So I'd say that's a challenge, but the benefit of it is that it forces me to kind of take more personal responsibility for it. I can't just do it and know that I'm going to get that immediate feedback. I have to actually self-assess as I'm doing it because nobody else is going to do it in real time. And then you also get the additional feedback of taking the video, sending it to Nick, and getting the more detailed coaching of stuff that I'm totally clueless about, things that I'm not even thinking about, whether it's like elbow position, hand position, grip, like all these different things that Nick's done a really good job of kind of incrementally building it up so it's not overwhelming in terms of things to think about. So it's kind of a good mix of like, okay, I remember last week Nick talked about focusing on, A, B, and C. So I'm going to think about that while I do the lift. But then the video review also, gives an opportunity for additional improvement and feedback beyond that. So I found it to be a really good mix, and it keeps challenging me and progressing me in ways that I wouldn't be able to have otherwise.
Yeah, and then tell them a little bit about your gym setup, because one of the things that I get a lot of questions on is, do I need a full gym, or is this something that I need to get a gym membership?
Sure. Do you want me to show? I could just walk over it quick.
Yeah.
So definitely don't have a full gym setup. Let's see if I can. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we live in an apartment right now, but it's like an old factory. So we have cement floors, which makes it nice. And I just have like this pad that I moved right now because for jerks, it moves around. It doesn't stick. So anyway, just have this barbell and then the weights, and then yeah, just the dumbbells over there. So it's really not that big. Like the couch is right here. So, but it's enough room, and yeah. So that's kind of the setup. Before that, we were doing it. We've kind of moved around a lot this last year, and so I was doing it in the garage on a back porch for a while. It's been in 4 different places in the last 6 months. So
It's awesome. I love watching you guys do. One person may be watching TV and the other person is behind them doing snatch and clean and jerks. I love it. Real quick on the fitness aspect, you mentioned doing this with your wife. A lot of people, not even a lot of my clients do the Olympic lifting, but that's one of the things that probably a lot of people know me for. But tell us a little bit about the differences for your wife's workouts versus your workouts in which you're doing Olympic weightlifting.
yeah. So so Nicole does a lot of the dumbbell stuff. She started getting into more of the Olympic lifts. I think she's always been very hesitant to do that. Struggles with feeling like, can't do it, not knowledgeable enough, uncertainty, anxiety around it. So she just started doing that, and then she got pregnant, and so now it's difficult. So, but anyway, it's nice to have that from a marriage setting. It's nice to have differentiated workouts that we can both keep progressing and keep doing things in the area of like that proximal development zone where it's not pushing too far, but it's also enough. And then it also leads to, I think the biggest benefit for us has been not having to worry about feelings of shame that come in. Mm-hmm. So I think before we started working with Nick, we'd do stuff on our own, and Nicole would feel this pressure to do what I'm doing. And if she wasn't doing that, then it was lesser, not good enough. And so just felt bad about it. So yeah, working with Nick, we each have our own programs. We don't have to like work through that dynamic of like, oh, like what are the unsaid things when, the spouse says, how about you try, squats today? What does that actually mean? And so I don't have to worry about that. So it's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about your experience in the Spartan lifestyle around nutrition and how that's helped you and Nicole kind of have that cohesiveness inside your family setting when it comes to nutrition.
Yeah, for that, again, it's been kind of different. For me, the biggest thing is just I've been really consistent with the tracking element. As somebody that likes data, like I just really love the clarity that it gives me to punch it all in. I don't love having to type in all the food all the time. It's not my favorite activity, but I do like the clarity that it gives enough that it makes it well worth it for me. Meanwhile, Nicole is not as big on the tracking thing, but the fact that we're working together on it, and we kind of both, Nick has talked about similar things with both of us, we can kind of work towards a similar goal, even if the way we do it has been different. So for us, a lot that's been, eating a lot more protein, I think, than before I started with Nick. I didn't realize how low I had been before that. And then it's just eating like whole foods, right? Like stop eating the packaged stuff, like going around the outside of the store, not going in the inside of the store, and vegetables. And yeah, so.
Yeah. And a lot of it, that's what we talked about with John last week. And we get so bombarded with all this marketing, right? You should eat this, you shouldn't eat that. But if we kind of boil it down to the old farm kid mentality, farm boy mentality, right? Eat food, eat some animals, eat stuff that came from the ground, that type of stuff. It makes it pretty easy. And then you guys, like you said, a little bit differences in the tracking, but having the same goal, right, of eating whole foods and eating healthy probably has made life a lot easier, right, when it comes down to staying on track and being teammates.
For sure.
Third aspect of Spartan lifestyle and what we kind of see as the base is some of the mindset coaching. So tell us a little bit about your guys' experience in the mindset coaching when we were doing the weekly calls, and now that you're in the different program where it's not so weekly calls, but we're doing some of the videos on a daily basis for the group.
Yeah, so starting with so I guess I would say I was a little bit skeptical of the importance of the mindset piece at the beginning. I was kind of like, all right, like whatever, like I'll do it, but I don't really enjoy it. but that's really changed over the last year. Now I really see the value of it. I've been trying to be intentional about increasing the different things that I do to help with that. Um, and so initially with the program, with some of those weekly calls with Nick, I think the biggest thing was just kind of talking through what we're experiencing, the pros, the cons, like the struggles, and then Nick always having great advice on, hey, try this. Like, what if you do this journaling? Or like journaling is always something that I've thought about doing, but never really pulled the trigger on. And so Nick got me over the hump on that. And now, even when I don't do it, like I'm still not consistent every day, but when I don't do it, it feels like a gap in that I want to, and maybe I just didn't get to it for whatever reason. Where before I would just like, I didn't have that draw towards it. So yeah, so those weekly calls at the beginning were super, super helpful. And then Nick not just giving us like answers to questions, but also more so like processes to how to deal with those things in the future. And so those have been things that I think we've been able to carry forward now that we aren't doing those weekly calls with Nick, but we also have those tools now that I think it's a little bit less, not that it's less needed, but we have kind of a toolkit of things to go to. And that's been super helpful.
Yeah, you mentioned being apprehensive at first and not so much now. What has been some of the benefits of implementing some of those mindset tools and using some of those tools?
Yeah. So I think before my approach was always like, it's going to take some time. Like I was more focused on production, and it felt like a decreasing time for production. But in reality, it's more so like it's preventative work, not really preventative, but it's like investment work where it helps the production be better as long as I do that. So for me, it's the best days are when I get up early enough and I have time to do like start my day with a Bible study, start my day with journaling. And I've started to kind of find different processes, not just ambiguous, like, okay, I'm going to do this, but there's like kind of an outline that I follow each week. Like, here's the questions I'm going to start with, and then go from there. And when I do that, I find that it just puts me in a better mindset throughout the whole day. And I'm able to, since going back to production, I'm able to produce more, even though I have more things to do in a way. So
it's that prep time, right? It doesn't necessarily, it takes time to do it, but it increases your efficiency once you get started. Another thing that I wanted to mention, what me and you and me and Nicole and the three of us have built is a spiritual bond, right? We both come from religious backgrounds, but throughout our time, I feel like I've built a community of the church with you guys. And I think that that's a huge component that we've found in our relationship working together, is adding that spirituality, right? And coming from
absolutely, that. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit, if somebody was to ask you, if I'm thinking about Spartan lifestyle, what are some of the benefits that I'm going to get from working with Nick? What's it like to work with him? Why would you encourage somebody to give it a shot, at least for a trial week?
Yeah. I think just first of all, I would say, like, what do you have to lose by giving it a shot? Like, I mean, it costs some money and some time, but I mean, you spend your time and money on way worse things, I'm sure. So it's not that much of a loss. But also, I think the biggest thing working with Nick is just, I kind of mentioned it, just he is not necessarily interested in just telling you answers or what to do, but more so just equipping you to put those processes and those things in place for yourself. So it becomes more than just okay, do this 12-week program, and now you post your pictures before and after, like, yeah, we did it. And then it immediately falls off after that. It's some program that maybe was great, but it wasn't anything sustainable. So Nick, really, what I've really noticed and enjoyed is it's not necessarily that short pop of something that gets big results but isn't sustainable, but it's more focused on that long term. And so, yeah, that's what I would say is it's different than most of the programs I've seen or done in the past that tend to have more of that short-term focus, which is great, but then it falls off, where Nick's program has led to, by far for us, the most sustained results we've ever had.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think one of the things, going back to the spiritual community that we built, goes back to that Bible verse, right? I can fish for you guys and give you a fish and feed you for a day, or I can try to teach you to fish right? And then feed you for a lifetime. And that's really the goal. We appreciate you joining us today. Is there anything else that you want to say about your experience to the folks out there that may be watching?
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would say is just give it a try, or if you haven't or whatever, just, yeah, give it a shot. But also, I just want to emphasize that Nick does an amazing job at personalizing everything as well. So I've always been impressed with, it's not just a cookie cutter, like, okay, just everybody do the same thing. Like it's tailored specifically to individual needs. And so that personal touch is huge. So.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Nathan. Appreciate you for joining us, and congratulations on, he just got back from his first ultrasound. So congratulations. Great things are coming. Until next time, guys, we'll see you next week.
All right.